At number 10, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner has been having a rough time lately. He's pretty much disappeared from the media and people want to know what's up. Well, essentially, he's been blacklisted from Hollywood because no one really wants to hire him. Since finishing up his time in the Twilight Saga, Taylor hasn't seen very much success. After the franchise ended, Taylor went looking for work, and at first people were ready to offer him some good Hollywood parts, and he was still a big name in the industry after he got so much fame playing his character Jacob Black in the Twilight movies, but soon Hollywood executives realized that he just wasn't the powerhouse that they were expecting. The first few movies he starred in tanked at the box office, and between this and his high asking salary, no one was really keen on taking a chance on the actor. In the years since, he's appeared on some TV shows like Scream Queens, but other than that, we haven't really heard much from him. Taylor has pretty much disappeared into the abyss, and there's no telling whether or not he will ever return. At number 9, Lea Michele. TV and Broadway actress Lea Michele had a tough time last year as she was on the receiving end of a lot of backlash. The criticism she faced last year came from her on-set behavior and the allegations made against her of bullying her co-stars. The first to come forward about Lea's bad attitude was her former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, who responded to her message about George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. Samantha tweeted saying, quote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would in my wig," amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood, end quote. This prompted other people who have worked with her to come forward about their experiences working with Lea, and because of all the backlash she got, she was subsequently dropped by her sponsor HelloFresh because they didn't want to support her past actions and didn't want to align themselves with her. Now Hollywood knows about Lea's poor behavior and will probably disappear from the spotlight soon because of it. Now before I continue on with the video, I'd just like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video because we would really appreciate your support. At number 8, Hartley Sawyer. After all the scandals we've seen in the past, I'm sure we all know that sometimes your tweets can come back to bite you, and for actor Hartley Sawyer, his past tweets really went to town on him. After some of his past racist, sexist, and plain offensive tweets came to light earlier last year, Hartley was fired from his role as Ralph Dibny on the CW show The Flash. This comes after the Black Lives Matter movement began to gain traction last year, and so in a show of accountability and respect for those he offended, the showrunners released a statement informing fans of the show of their decision to let Hartley go, where they said, quote, "In regards to Mr. Sawyer's post on social media, we do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. Such remarks go against our values and policies, which strive and evolve to promote a safe, inclusive, and productive environment for our workplace," end quote. Since being fired from the show, Hartley's career has taken a huge hit since his actions have been brought to light, and he will definitely have a hard time finding work since he's considered blacklisted. We haven't heard much from him since the scandal happened, and that's probably because he's already disappeared.
Up next, number 7 is Jonathan Taylor Thomas, another heartthrob from the 90s who just disappeared from the industry randomly. He's mostly known for his role on the hit TV show Home Improvement, but he was winning over hearts ever since he performed the voice of young Simba in The Lion King. But when he reached his late teens, he quit Home Improvement, did a couple indie films, and then just vanished completely. A very bold move for someone who was just at the height of their career and probably had a long, successful one ahead of them. He is now 39 years old and hasn't walked a red carpet in over 15 years. So where did he go and what has he been up to? Turns out that he loved acting but hated the fame and attention being directed at his personal life. So he left and decided to focus on his studies instead. At 19 years old, he enrolled at Harvard University, where he spent 2 years studying philosophy and history. A few years ago though, he did make an appearance in Last Man Standing, where he was reunited with Tim Allen, who actually played his dad in Home Improvement. But he did it just for fun and says that he enjoys his life outside of Hollywood. Rolling into number 6 is Rachel Platten. The singer skyrocketed into fame with her hit single Fight Song. She grew a huge fan base rather quickly, and one fan even made it on The Ellen Show after she did an emotional cover to the song Fight Song. Her music career was gaining a ton of success, and she's even gone on some pretty epic tours. But in recent times, she's gone quiet and has not been putting out new music. She opened up about her reasoning in 2019, saying that after having a baby, she struggled with postpartum anxiety. She opened up about it in a lengthy Instagram post where she said that even when she was on tour, she was crying in bathrooms some days because the anxiety was so difficult. So once the tour was done, she poured her heart and soul into to being a new mom and less on the Hollywood life as a singer. But she did recently pop up on TikTok and said that she's creating new music and is hoping to be back into it soon. Halfway through the list, at number 5 is Cameron Diaz. Back in 2014, she was one of the most sought out female celebrities in the game. She was appearing in tons of magazines and taking the lead in comedy rom-coms. But then she suddenly disappeared from the limelight and was no longer showing up on our screens. It wasn't until 2018 when she admitted to Entertainment Weekly that she had officially retired from acting. Fans were shocked at first, but later found out that she went on to have a more quiet family life. She got married to Benji Madden and they had a little girl, so her attention and priorities completely switched, as it would for a lot of new mothers. Reports say that having a baby was one of the main reasons why she left Hollywood. Reports claim that they were trying to get pregnant for a while and nothing was working. But fans did get a nice surprise recently when she did a Skype interview with Jimmy Fallon where she talked about being a mom and what she is up to these days. Taking over the number 4 spot is Jack Gleeson. The young actor played King Joffrey in the hit TV series Game of Thrones, but then announced he would be retiring after its 4th season. Despite being just a teenager when he started the show, he has hinted at retirement on more than one occasion. But in 2019, it became official. He spoke with Entertainment Weekly and said that he's been acting since he was 8 years old and doesn't enjoy it anymore like he used to. He said, "Up until now, acting was always something I did for recreation with my friends or in the summer for some fun. I enjoyed it. When you make a living from something, it changes your relationship with it. It's not like I hate it, it's just not what I want to do." After he left, he moved back home to his family and joined a Dublin-based theatre company called Collapsing Horse. So he's still acting in some way.
At number 3, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has been blacklisted in Hollywood for a while now because of his racist and anti-Semitic remarks, as well as other allegations of misconduct that he's faced. Mel has mostly been out of the Hollywood spotlight in recent years, but last year he faced more allegations of discrimination by actress Winona Ryder. She spoke out in an interview about an encounter that she had with him where he called her a quote, oven dodger, and made more insensitive remarks. In the interview, she went into more detail about some of the offensive things that Mel has said in regards to the LGBT community and people of Jewish faith. This prompted Mel to get cancelled again, though it really didn't make much difference since he's already so hated in Hollywood. These allegations are really nothing new for Mel, and so he stayed away from the spotlight, but I'm sure he won't be coming back because things like this just keep on happening. At number 2, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine was seen as a snitch and a snake for a while after testifying against gang members and supportedly throwing people under the bus in order to get a lighter jail sentence. Well, now that he's out and making music again, he's feeling the repercussions of his tattered name in the media, as well as his time behind bars. Tekashi is now saying that he's been blacklisted by the music industry after his new music wasn't promoted on any streaming platforms and wasn't featured in any playlists. After dropping his album Tattletales, he wasn't met with the same praise that he would have expected, and so after realizing that his music has been in a way shadow banned, he disappeared from the spotlight temporarily since his career wasn't doing so well. Tekashi is known for trolling online, so when fans noticed the rapper had gone MIA, they were a little bit concerned, but none more concerned than the rapper himself because he was afraid for his career. He seems to be slowly bouncing back now, but he still has a little ways to go yet before he can really pick up to where he was before his stay in prison. And finally, at number 1, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp had quite the year in 2020 and not in a good way. As you may all know, Johnny and his ex Amber Heard were all over the news last year concerning Johnny's libel case with the Sun publication and their labeling of Johnny as a wife beater. After the verdict came through on this case, awarding the victory to the Sun, Johnny started feeling the repercussions of this loss. Though the world found out that Johnny was in fact a victim of violence rather than the one who was inflicting the violence, movie studios and executives still started letting Johnny go regardless. First, he was let go from his role as Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts films, and then we learned that he'd been blacklisted from Disney for a while as they refused to cast him in future productions. Now Johnny is susceptible to disappearing from Hollywood because of a loss of work. Though many of his fans are looking to keep his career alive and advocate for him, as far as Hollywood is concerned, he's too much of a risk, so unfortunately it's not looking good for the actor. But I, as well as many others, are optimistic that he will definitely come out on top in the end.
Starting off at number 10, we have Rick Moranis. Rick was a major comedy star in the 80s, best known for starring in the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise. However, he decided to leave Hollywood in 1991 because his wife Anne sadly died of cancer. He was left as a single father to 2 children and put acting on the back burner to raise his kids. After filming 1997's Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, Rick officially left Hollywood to focus on raising his kids full-time. He has voice acted in a handful of roles since, but he's mostly stayed off screen. But it looks like his hiatus might be coming to an end soon, as there are talks to add another installment to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise. The film is called Shrunk, with Josh Gad playing his son, and it's currently in pre-production on IMDb, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing it soon. Also, make sure to like the video if you're liking it so far. In at number 9, Kris Humphries. Kris Humphries was a professional basketball star and briefly a reality TV star when he was married to Kim Kardashian. The Minneapolis-born athlete played for 9 different professional teams during his career, and he was a pretty low-key player in the league, of course, until the Kardashians got involved. And he became one of the top stars in the tabloids with the Kardashian affiliation, even getting him heckled on court. The pair got married, then divorced 72 days later, which of course didn't help the media circus. Kris ended up retiring from the NBA, and he moved back home and started franchising fast casual restaurants. And he's remained out of the spotlight ever since. In at number 8, Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn is of course the legendary old Hollywood actress known for Breakfast at Tiffany's, along with many other iconic films. Her style also influenced the fashion trends of the next few decades. And even though she was a massive star, many people forget that she retired just a few years after her career peaked. During her acting days, Hepburn worked with UNICEF, crediting them with assisting her as a child in the war-torn Netherlands. Then when she retired in 1988, she became an official ambassador, and she used her fame to help people and bring attention to charities and human rights issues.
At number 7, Lori Loughlin. Actress Lori Loughlin is known for her roles on Full House and Fuller House, but now she's known as yet another celebrity who's been blacklisted from Hollywood. Lori was involved in a college admissions scandal where she bribed college recruiters in order to get her daughter Olivia Jade into a good college. Well, after investigations unfolded and court proceedings went on, Lori was subsequently sentenced to 2 months in jail for her crimes. For a few months, she disappeared from Hollywood and the news as she spent her time behind bars. She began her sentence in late October, whereas her husband was sentenced to 5 months in jail. Now, coming out of the scandal, Lori will be hard-pressed to find work ever again. We already got a taste of Lori disappearing for a while serving her time, so I'm sure she'll stay gone from Hollywood for the foreseeable future. At number 6, Stassi Schroeder. After facing accusations of racist actions, reality star Stassi Schroeder, one of the cast members of the Vanderpump Rules, has been blacklisted from reality TV and has already begun facing the consequences. This all started after Stassi was part of a fake police report that alleged that one of her fellow cast members, Faith Stowers, was guilty of a crime that she didn't commit. Faith, being the only black cast member on the show, was accused of robbing men in LA. Stassi accused Faith of this crime after seeing a picture of the alleged criminal and saying that this person in question looked like Faith because they were both black. Stassi was later removed from the show for her actions, and as a result of her blacklisting and tarnished reputation, her podcast Straight Up was removed from all platforms. Looks like Stassi's already disappearing, and it might not be too long before she's gone for good. At number 5, Jussie Smollett. Former Empire actor Jussie Smollett has been in some hot water for a while following his scandal after he was caught making false police statements about an alleged hate crime against him. In January 2019, Jussie, who was openly gay, claimed that he was attacked by a group of people wearing masks who put a noose around his neck and shouted, "This is MAGA country." Well, after a police investigation ensued, they found that the claim was fake and that Jussie did all of this because he was unhappy about his salary from Empire. The charges against him for making a false report were eventually dropped, but similar charges emerged last year, and Jussie was indicted. As a result of the scandal and his crimes, Jussie was fired from Empire and has struggled to make things work for him in the industry since then. There was even a call to blacklist him from the entire industry, but maybe that formality isn't necessary since no one wants to work with him right now over fears of bad publicity. At number 4, Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made headlines last year after they announced that they were stepping away from royal duties and would be splitting their time between the US and the UK. Meghan already faced a lot of backlash and scrutiny by the British people and members of the royal family, so in a way she was blacklisted from this society. Her relationship with the royals and her presence in the media, as well as details from her past, made a lot of people hold aggressions towards her. As a result of these circumstances, she and Harry, as well as their son Archie, took a step back from the public eye and their senior duties as members of the royal family. Meghan sort of disappeared from the public as a result, and though this is exactly the outcome that she hoped for, I'm sure it isn't easy being watched the way that she and the rest of the royal family is, so I applaud her for doing what is best for her and her family.
In at number 3, Kevin Jonas. Kevin Jonas is of course the older brother of the Jonas Brothers. But although Kevin Jonas rose to stardom during his time as a performer with his brothers, after the band broke up in 2013, Jonas focused on creating apps and other business ventures with his fortune from his Joe Bro days. He created an app called You'd, which showed nearby restaurants serving the type of food that you picked from a menu. He also started Jonas Warner, a real estate development and construction company that he established soon after the breakup of the band. In addition, Kevin is the co-CEO of The Blue Market. It's a business venture mainly focused on communication and pushing them to be actively visible in social media and gain a following. And although it seems that Kevin would prefer a life away from the spotlight, the band is such a staple in the hearts of young people everywhere, including myself. The band has gotten back together and recently made music. So it seems that Kevin is back in the spotlight for now, but not sure if that could change again in the future. In at number 2, George Clooney. George Clooney has slowly started to drift away from acting, and that's on purpose. The star's opened up in the past about his thoughts of quitting acting for good. And he's spoken about the fact that he doesn't like fame, saying in an interview, quote, "What's the guy in the big house on the hill got to complain about? The truth is the big house on the hill is isolating. There's no other way to say it. There are restrictions to this kind of fame. I haven't walked in Central Park for 15 years. I'd like to, you know?" Then in 2017, he said that he was seriously thinking of quitting acting, saying, quote, "Look, I acted for a long time and I'm 56. I'm not the guy that gets the girl anymore." He also added that he no longer needs to act to make money, as he sold his tequila company Casamigos for $1 billion. At the time, he had not acted in a movie since 2016, however, he did star in the 2020 film Midnight Sky, but that could potentially be his last movie. In at number 1, Taylor Momsen. Gossip Girl character and former child star Taylor Momsen began her transition out of Hollywood while she was still a series regular on the CW's teen soap Gossip Girl, which explains why Momsen looks so different at the end compared to the start of the show. Taylor formally announced that she had quit acting in 2011 to focus on her punk rock career with her band The Pretty Reckless. 9 years later, in 2020, The Pretty Reckless are still rocking on and preparing for a release of their 4th album. True to her word, Taylor has not returned to acting in any capacity. Momsen told the Daily Beast in 2014, quote, "When I got to a place where I realized I was in control of my own life and had found the right band and everything was coming to fruition, it wasn't even a question. I was going to quit my day job. I came to set every day with an effing guitar. But I'm very lucky the producers were nice enough to write me out, allow me to tour, and pursue my passion." And honestly, good for her for chasing her dreams.
In at number 10, Geena Davis. Geena Davis has received numerous accolades for her acting work in both film and television, and is noted for her portrayals of strong and authentic female characters, as well as her involvement in advocacy for women in the industry. When she won her first Oscar in 1988 for The Accidental Tourist, Geena became a massive star in Hollywood. She went on to do back-to-back roles in hits like Beetlejuice and Thelma and Louise. When the early 2000s rolled around though, Geena decided to step away from acting because the roles she was getting lacked complexity and the projects just weren't that interesting. Instead, she decided to start the Geena Davis Institute on Gender and Media in 2004 to increase the presence of female representation in film and television. She did make a comeback though when she joined a documentary called This Changes Everything, as well as the Netflix female wrestling comedy called Glow. In at number 8, Rick Moranis. Back in 1980, Rick Moranis was just starting out in his career. He landed a role in the Canadian comedy series called SCTV, working alongside comedy legends like Harold Ramis, Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, and John Candy, many of whom Rick would go on to work with in the future. The reason for Rick disappearing from Hollywood is actually quite sad. After his wife Anne passed away from breast cancer in 1997, he immediately had to shift his focus on raising their 2 children. In all of these interviews that he did much later, Rick mainly stayed very nonchalant about his choice to leave Hollywood to become a stay-at-home dad. During an interview with The Hollywood Reporter in 2015, he said, "I was working with really interesting people, wonderful people. I went from that to being at home with a couple of little kids, which is a very different lifestyle, but it was important to me. I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. My life is wonderful." Although he did sort of leave Hollywood, the comedian hasn't stopped working. He's almost exclusively done voiceover work from 1997 to 2006.
And at number 7, Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Lynn Spears is best known for her role as Zoe in the hit show Zoe 101, but she left her career and the height of her fame to become a mother, as she became pregnant shortly after she stopped filming the show at the age of 16. She walked away from fame in an attempt to escape the scrutiny, and years later she shared her thought process at the time with Glamour. She said, quote, "I just wanted to get away from it as much as I could, to just go away and be a mom and figure out what I wanted, and to earn a sense of respect back for myself. Move to a town in the middle of nowhere and just raise my child. All I could be was a good mother." She's now married with 2 children and has not been in the spotlight since. And at number 6, Frankie Muniz. Please tell me I'm not the only one that had a huge crush on Frankie Muniz when they were growing up, hopefully not just me. Frankie Muniz was a tween star best known for Malcolm in the Middle, but after he became mega famous as a teenager, he decided to leave acting to pursue another career. He ended up becoming a race car driver, and he had a lot of success too. In 2006, he joined Jensen Motorsport as a race car driver, and according to People, he competed in the Champ Car World Series. He also made his way to the highly televised Las Vegas Grand Prix. Frankie has said that he would go back to acting for Malcolm in the Middle reboot, and he did star in a few seasons of Dancing with the Stars, but he's mostly stayed away from the spotlight since his tween stardom. Halfway number 5, Dylan Sprouse. After becoming Disney stars, Cole and his brother Dylan stepped away from the spotlight. However, Cole decided to return and is now one of the stars of the hit show Riverdale. Dylan has decided to stay out of acting and decided to attend college. He attended NYU from 2011 to 2015, where he studied video game design. Then after started All Wise Meadery. In an interview with Vanity Fair in 2018, Dylan stated, quote, "After graduating, I realized that it's something I really love doing, and it's also a big business opportunity. I was thinking about ways to invest my money, and I thought, well, if there's anything to invest your money in, alcohol is not a bad thing to invest in." Dylan has started a handful of indie short films since, but we don't expect him to come back into the spotlight anytime soon. In at number 4, Nikki Blonsky. Nikki Blonsky's rise to stardom is such a crazy story it could be the plot of a movie. In 2007, she was scooping ice cream at Cold Stone Creamery when she learned that she'd been cast in the role of Tracy Turnblad in the cinematic reboot of Hairspray, after applying to an open casting call. But after the breakout role, her career took a dive. Over the years, as Blonsky's acting roles have become fewer and farther between, rumors have circulated from time to time about what she does to make money. Some photos went viral of her sweeping up at a hair salon, which prompted her to respond on Twitter saying, quote, "It's true, I'm working at Superstar Salon as a makeup artist. And more, I am proud to be working and helping pay bills, but I'll never lose sight of my dreams." So it seems like she's still working towards her dreams, but for now, she's out of the spotlight.
In at number 3, Angus Jones. Angus Jones is perhaps best known for playing Jake Harper in the CBS sitcom 2.5 Men, for which he won 2 Young Artist Awards and a TV Land Award. The show was the most popular sitcom in the US with an average audience of around 15 million people. By 2010 though, he was the highest paid child star in television at just 17 years old. In 2012, Jones had turned 18 and really started to feel awkward with the new adult storylines that he was doing for the show. As a result of growing up, the writers could no longer give him these childish lines and innocent mannerisms that Jake was so well known for. By November of 2012, Angus said that he had been baptized and no longer wanted to appear on the show anymore. He even went as far as saying that the show is filth and thus conflicted with his newfound religious views. In at number 2, Carly Schroeder. Not too many people would probably even recognize Carly today, but way back she was best known for her recurring role on the Disney Channel series Lizzie McGuire. Originally booking it as a one-time appearance, she ended up shooting 12 episodes of the show and also appeared in the Lizzie McGuire movie in 2003 in the same role. Unlike most people though, Carly took a completely different route from retiring from acting. In February of 2019, Schroeder announced that she would be joining the United States Army. She then attended the Officer Candidate School and planned on working as an officer in the Military Intelligence Corps. She also received her commission as a 2nd lieutenant on September 20th, 2019. Carly also explained during an interview with Business Insider that she didn't really talk about her time as an actress so that she could blend in and have people not treat her differently. Probably a good move. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes rose to prominence in Hollywood as a child star in the late 1990s and early 2000s on Nickelodeon through the sketch comedy series called All That, which then led to her own spin-off series titled The Amanda Show. From there, her career seemed to be on the right path according to Hollywood rules. She was now starring in some bigger feature films, but because her life had been in the spotlight for so long, her downfalls were also highly publicized. She began to struggle with substance abuse and her legal issues, resulting in a hiatus from acting in 2010. She attempted to make a comeback in 2018, but nothing really happened, and thus she began to disappear from Hollywood.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Jennifer Lawrence. If you are a fan of the actress, then you might be wondering where she has been lately. She hasn't appeared as a lead in a film since 2018, and there was a time when she was appearing in most of them. Turns out she didn't disappear on purpose or have some epic plan to leave Hollywood, but her presence has not been made known and she hasn't been around much in the last few years. Even before the coronavirus pandemic started, Jennifer had been quarantining in her own little world, it seemed. Turns out she took some time off from acting and got married, which was completely private. She started dating her now husband, Cook Maroney, in 2018, and their wedding was on October 19th, 2019. The whole thing was kept as private as possible, and some would say her priorities were changed due to this new chapter in her life. But some good news, she is set to return to some movies next year. She signed on to a movie called Don't Look Up, which is now delayed until 2021, so it might just be her big comeback. Here's hoping, I really like her. Up next, number 9 is Macaulay Culkin. Probably one of the biggest examples of a celebrity disappearing from the Hollywood limelight. During the 90s, he was a child star that rose above the rest, and it seemed like his future in the industry was very bright. But he suddenly disappeared and people were wondering what happened to the most famous kid on earth. In 1994, he had 3 big movies that year, and all of them bombed at the box office, which would definitely have an impact on a 14-year-old actor trying to make it big. He officially took his exit from the industry in 1995 during a difficult time in his personal life. His parents decided to separate and they were facing a very vicious custody battle over Macaulay and his siblings. In the end, reports say his mother got full custody and he was estranged from his father ever since. We didn't see him in movies for many years, and anytime the paparazzi found him, the articles reported that he was struggling with a drug addiction. It wasn't until recent years that he has resurfaced and is taking on smaller projects but on his own terms.
In at number 7, Mike Myers. To me, Mike Myers will always be my comedy idol. I mean, his performances in Shrek, Wayne's World, and Austin Powers were so funny and over the top that I still laugh at them in 2020. Myers was also extremely popular as well during his time with Saturday Night Live, for which a sketch of his was even transformed into the movie Wayne's World. His troubles with Hollywood though started way back in the year 2000 when he signed on to another film also inspired by an SNL skit called Sprockets. Yes, that was the name. Halfway through production, the comedian left citing issues with the script. Him bailing on this production though resulted in 2 lawsuits from Universal Studios, one of which was for $30 million. He then went on to do that terrible live action version of Cat in the Hat, which absolutely tanked in the box office. The real reason he disappeared from Hollywood though was to put more focus on being a husband and a father. In at number 6, his comedy duo buddy, Dana Carvey. Best known for his work as a cast member on SNL as well, and of course Garth from Wayne's World. Dana is an actor, stand-up comedian, and excellent impressionist. Dana Carvey has audiences cracking up at his George Bush impression and his church lady character during 7 seasons of Saturday Night Live, and created unforgettable catchphrases with Mike Myers in 2 Wayne's World movies. But at the peak of his career in the late 1990s, Carvey stepped away to raise his 2 sons Dex and Thomas with his wife Paula since 1983. While speaking with People magazine, Carvey spoke about his decision to leave Hollywood. In the interview he said, "I have friends who get stressed about fading or not being as hot. I never quite engaged that. I have a lot of drive to try to be the best I can be, have people be blown away by what I do and repeating it. But the other side of me is fine wherever I am." He also was experiencing a lot of health complications during the late 90s, which caused him to undergo 4 angioplasties in less than a year, followed up with a double bypass surgery. However, his health is tip-top magoo now and his focus seems to be shifting back to stand-up comedy. Actually, he put out a great stand-up comedy hour on Netflix. Check that out. In at number 5, Jack Gleeson. Jack Gleeson is an Irish actor that received critical acclaim for playing the role of Joffrey Baratheon in the HBO series Game of Thrones. Jack began acting at the age of 8 in the Independent Theatre Workshop, and when asked why he stopped acting at the height of his career, really, Gleeson told Entertainment Weekly that he just wasn't enjoying it anymore. In the interview he said, "The answer isn't interesting or long-winded. I've been acting since age 8. I just stopped enjoying it as much as I used to, and now there's the prospect of doing it for a living, whereas up until now it was always something I did for recreation with my friends or in the summer for some fun. I enjoyed it. When you make a living from something, it changes your relationship with it. It's not like I hate it, it's just not what I want to do. He will be sorely missed." Not Joffrey though, I hated that character. In at number 4, Sean Connery. Sean Connery without a doubt will always be James Bond to me. Thanks to a run as the character from 1962 to 1983 that saw him starring in 7 films as a secret agent 007. By 1999, People magazine had declared him as the sexiest man of the century, and then to cap it all off, he was knighted in 2000. That's a great decade for him. One of his last big box office films that he did though was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003. However, the film was not very well received and was mostly a commercial failure. I still loved it. Following this film, he kept fairly quiet about his future plans until revealing in 2006 that he had retired from acting. After accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award at the American Film Institute, Connery told the crowd, "I have retired for good. It's been a bit rough since Christmas, but I'm perfectly okay and I feel well. In fact, I'm working on a history book." History written by Sean Connery. I'd read that.
Making her way into number 3 is Mara Wilson. If you watched the movie Matilda when you were a kid, then you quickly fell in love with the title character and hoped that she would be your friend and teach you all of her cool magic tricks. The movie is a cult classic, and the actress behind the iconic character, Mara Wilson, had a very successful career lined up for her. But just a few years after the movie was released, Mara decided to quit the biz. Many people couldn't understand her decision and reasoning, so down the road she wrote a book called Where Am I Now? The Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame. After leaving Hollywood and growing her personal life, she found a passion for writing and started writing her own novels. She now lives a very normal life, but said that sometimes she will act in smaller projects with her friends. In spot number 2 is Freddie Prinze Jr. The actor was popping up in movies all over the place between 1998 to 2003, but then just disappeared without much reasoning for it. He did try to make big comebacks, but his last big screen appearance was in 2008. He was a huge heartthrob in the 90s and won multiple Teen Choice Awards for his roles. But his seemed like his career had lost some momentum, and he ended up trading in his movie career for a family. He married actress Sarah Michelle Gellar, who also retired from Hollywood, and now they have 2 children together and have changed their career paths. When asked if he would return to acting, he said, "I love being a full-time father. To remove myself from that equation would not be a good thing. I'm basically retired." After acting, he turned his focus on cooking and now has his own cookbooks, which I thought was very random.